In this video, we're going to focus on how we can create these rotated label tags here on the X scale. And what we will do is we will match nicely with the lines here, and every time we add a new data set, it will add up the item and extract the color and the label of the data set. So let's start to look how to do this. So now let's start to look at how to add the custom rotated label tags in Chart.js. So the first thing what we need is we need to get a boiler template. So you go to chartjs3.com, getting started, this specific link here, which is as well in the description box. Once you're on the site, scroll down and copy this boiler template here. Copy this, and if you want to understand what this code all does, make sure you watch this video here. So then what we're going to do is we're going to paste that in there, and then we're going to cut out the title, put the title in here, save this, refresh, there we are. What I will do is I will extend the size of the chart here, saying this will be 80%, refresh, there we are. So now what I want to do is I want to convert this into a scatter chart. So in here I'm going to say, instead of a bar, this will be a scatter chart, and this scatter chart will have a different structure. So we're going to remove all of that. This is going to put in 5 data points here just to make it easy. Say here 0, x will be 0, and then y will be 0, comma. Just copy this. I'll just put in multiple times like that, and then I'll say here this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then here you can say here 1, 2, 1, and there we are. If I save this, refresh, you can see here now we have this, but it might be still quite hard to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down here, remove this border width, and we're going to say show line equals true to display the line as well. Once we did that, we have this nice item here. So what I want to do as well is I want to duplicate this. I'm going to duplicate this data set, copy that, put a comma here, paste that in there, and then I'll give this a different color. So what I will do is I will remove the array value, put that all together. So here this will be the background color, but this is the blue line. And then we have another one here for make sure the blue line has a solid 1 value. And we can just copy this, I guess, and just remove all the other border color array values, put it like that. And now I'm going to change the value here. We'll make sure that this will be let's say 1.5, and this can be 1 as well. So if I save that, refresh, there we are, and I guess maybe we should have a slightly different value here. Let's make this 2.5. We'll put it back on 2. Save, refresh. Alright, so we have this one, and I guess that should be maybe just slightly away from that. What I can do is put that in here. Let's make this. Put this a 4, and this one will be 5. So we have 2 different items here. I just want to make sure we have these different ones. Alright, so later on we have 2 label tags here. So now we have this here, and what I want to do is for the color here, this color, background color should be the red color. Remove all the array values, make this solid 1, copy this, delete all the arrays including the brackets, save, refresh. So now there's solid colors here, and this is just a solid red line. Alright, so now we have this. What I want to do here is we can call this our sales, and we can call this our cost, delete the others, refresh, there you are. Those are now changing as well. I'm going to hide these labels, or the legend, sorry. So what I'm going to do here in the options, just after the scale, say comma, I'm going to say plugins, and I'm going to say here legend, say display equals false, save, refresh, there we are. So now we have that. Next one is I want to move the scale on the X scale to the very top, or the X scale to the top instead of bottom. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to say X scale, and then I'm going to say here position equals top, comma, save, refresh. There we are. So now we have the scales at the very top. The next thing is eventually is starting to work with our custom plugin here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say plugins, And just to be clear here, make sure that this one is in the options. So just after the options, we have the plugins object or array. And I will call this our label tag. This is a simple variable for that, or a constant. And this will be here. I'm going to say here the label tag plugin block, and then we're going to say constant label tag equals. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to select here the drawing time. And what I want to do is I want to draw it after we draw the lines here. And I realize that these dots here should be removed as well. So let's do that one first, just quickly. We're going to say here point radius equals 0, comma, hit radius equals 0. We save that, refresh. You should see here, oh, the point radius. Did I save that properly? Alright, the reason why it doesn't work, or it does work, but basically I want to copy this and put it up here because they both need to be activated. And I guess what we could do even better is just to delete this and put it in the options, so we don't have to put in additional code. You just say here, by default, every data set here will be triggered by that. Make sure you have a comma, then here, say refresh. As you can see here, now we have no more dots on both of them, and using just a dry method of coding. So the next thing here is we have here the drawing time, and the drawing time will be after we draw these lines. So once the lines has been drawn, we're going to draw our shape. And this is basically like a price tag or a text design. Sorry. So what we're going to do is we're going to say after data sets, and then we're going to say a draw. So we draw that, and then we're going to put in the arguments, chart, args, and plugin options. Once here, we're going to do an object destructuring. And an object destructuring, if you don't understand what that is, I'm going to recommend you in the description box. There's a video is defined as how understanding object destructuring in Chart.js. I recommend you to study that one. So I'm going to say a constant, curly braces equals chart, and then what we're going to do here is we're going to put in here CTX, because we want to draw in the canvas. We're going to say a chart area, and the chart area will have top, bottom, left, right, width, and height. And most likely we won't be using them all, but having them extra just can be useful. You can always remove them once you don't need them. So we're going to say scales, and we're going to do X and Y scale. So now we have all of those. I'm going to put in an enter, and then what we're going to do here is ctx.save. This becomes very important if you're going to do rotation, or else you will get a very weird effect. So this one helps us to reset the rotation back to its original state. So now we have this, and what we want to do now is we're going to start drawing the shape here, but I do realize you can see here at the bottom we have not enough space. That will mean that we need to add up some space. So we're going to do here in the options, so enter, and then what I'm going to do here is we're going to say here layout, and I'm going to say here padding, I'm going to say here bottom, and we're going to give this maybe 50 pixels in additional space. Make sure you have a comma down here, save, refresh. So that will be probably sufficient, but depending on how long your text is, if you have longer text, this might need more space. So now we have that. What we're going to do here now is we're going to say here ctx.begin tab. So to indicate that we're going to create a new shape, and this shape is independent of anything else. Once we have this, we're going to say here we're going to put a color in, so I'm going to say ctx.fill style equals, and for now I will just grab a color here, and later on we're going to soft code this. So we're going to say here equal to that, and then we have another one here for the background color, or that is background color, sorry, and then for the stroke style, which is basically the lines, and then we have the same color for that. So once we have this, I want to define the line width. So I say ctx.line width, so then the line will be nice and thick of 3 pixels. So once we did that, we're going to start drawing the item. To draw the item, what we need to do is, well, we have to start from, for example, here, and then we go basically down to the left side, go down, and then like that, creating this house shape or label tag shape. So we're going to start working on it. So we're going to say ctx, and then we're going to say here move to, which would be our starting point. The starting point in this case will be exactly here, because this is the center, and this center is very important for us, which is basically the x value here, but the bottom on the chart area. So for the x and y, we have the x and y value. The y is the easiest one, we can say a bottom, and then the x value, what we're going to say here, is basically the x scale, that's this value here. I'm going to say a dot get pixel for value, and what we're really doing here is using a built-in Chart.js command which gets the value. In this case, the value is a specific value of the x value of this point, which is, let's go up here, this one here. We want to grab this value and calculate that into pixels. So what I can do here right now, if I just do here 4, you will see that it will work, but we need to soft code this later on. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to copy this. Then I'm going to say here line 2 to draw the first line. And to make it easy, I'm going to say here we have this. And then I'm going to say here minus 9 pixels. The reason why we're going negative is because I want to go back or more to the left instead of to the right. The right is more positive because this here would basically be the width of the chart area. So if you want to understand that, again, the video understanding chart area in Chartjs is crucial. So we want to go to the left side but also a bit down. Probably the best way to do it is just to show you exactly how this looks. So I'm going to say ctx dot stroke to draw the shape or the line. So we do this. You can see here now it moves a little bit. So of course I want to go down as well. So I'm going to say a plus, and let's say a 6 pixels down to create this triangle shape. There we are. Alright, so that is now the first part. Let's go down here, and this down here will be dependent on basically the width of the text. So how do we calculate that? Well, basically let's put that in here above. I'm going to say a constant text width, and the text width will be equal to, well, basically we're going to soft code it later on, but for now I'll just say here ctx dot measure text, and then we're going to put in here, I'll just type in here sales. That is the title that we use here above in the label, and later on we're going to extract that label dynamically. Dot, and I'm going to calculate here the width of this. This width here will be crucial for us because it will define how many pixels basically the text needs, or how much space in pixels the text needs. So then we have this here. So what I want to do is I'm going to say copy this, put that in here, and what we're going to do here now is we have this here, we have the bottom plus 6, and then maybe what we can do is to simplify that. I'm going to say here the width plus 6, so then I don't have to do here the bottom, but what I'm going to do here then is plus whatever the text width will be. So now it's hard coded, but including 6 pixels. So if I save that, refresh, there we are. So that should be at least covering the text. And if I have a longer text here, ABC, you can see it will extend automatically. Alright, so that works. So the next thing what I want to do is I want to copy this, and then I want to duplicate that one. But now what I want to do is I want to go to the right side. Remember, the right side is a positive number, so I'm going to say a plus. So with the text, or at least here when we do this positive value, you will see now it will move there. Alright, so that works, and it starts to work nicely here. And now what I want to do is I want to continue on and go up here, exactly matching this point, and then after we have to close that nicely. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to duplicate this. As you can see here, basically just like a mirror reflection of it. We do this, save, refresh. There we are. So now the final one, luckily this one is the easiest one. All we can do here, because we have here the begin path, now what we're going to do is a closed path. We're going to copy this, put it in here, and just say here close. Make sure the closed path will be before you put in the stroke, because then it will close the line. If you do it after, it will not close or draw anymore because it's done drawing. So there we are. So now we have this here. What I want to do is, we have this. What I want to do is as well, let's say background color. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to say here fill. Refresh. There you are. That looks nice. So now we have all of this. What we should have as well is, because maybe you might see here this is quite sharp edges, and let's make this more rounded. Luckily that's a quite straightforward process. All we're going to say is ctx dot line join equals round. Basically it makes then nice rounded borders. Oh, save that, refresh, and there we are. So you might see it, maybe you don't see it very clearly, but now they're nicely rounded. Alright, so now we have this, but what I want to do, of course, is soft code it. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a for loop for this, or not even for loop, a for each loop. For every data set we have, we're going to loop through that. So I'm going to say enter, enter. I'm going to say, before I even put that, I want to use here the data shorthand because of the object destructuring. So we can say here data.datasets.for each. So I want to loop through every item in the data set here. And I'm going to say here, every data set now is being referred to as data set, comma, index. We might not need the index, so you can remove that one if you don't need it, but I'm not sure if we need it, yes or no. So we can see later on. And then I'm going to do a function arrow expression. And once we did this, we're going to loop through this, but of course I'm going to cut out everything here, put it all in there. And then you can put proper indentation. You can just remove all of this extra space. Alright, so now we have this. We have all of this stuff here, and this is all fine. So what I want to do here is basically this item here should be soft coded, and this is basically the length. So what I'm going to do here is create a new constant, and what I'm going to do here is in the data sets, I'm going to say dot data dot length. Oh, sorry, not even like that. We're going to say data length equals length. Am I spelling this correctly? That's the only one I sometimes struggle with. Alright, so we say length, and with this length we want to do here -1. The reason why -1 because it gives us the length of the entire array, but I want to reduce that. So if I do a console log, you will see here this, and let me just show you. I guess if you're familiar with JavaScript, you should probably understand what I'm doing here. Anyway, save that, refresh just to make sure. Alright, dataset is not defined. And the reason why dataset is not defined here, that's a mistake on my side, because we're going to rename every dataset now dataset without the S. So we're going to make sure that this is now renamed. Alright, as you can see here, we get all of this here, we get all the datasets here. You can see here the values 5 and 6. Or sorry, 4 and 5 in length. Alright, so that means that's correct because some datasets were larger than others, as you could see. This one had 5 data points, this one had 6 data points. So -1, and well, you get the idea. So we have this. So this is already done. So what I'm going to do here now, this data length here, copy. We say here the value will be whatever the length would be of our item. So if I save that, refresh, you can see here now it's looping, but you can see here it loops right now both the same color. So what I want to do now is to change the color. Here, how do we do this? Well, we are in the data set here, so basically from the data set, which is this here, then we can go to background color, border color, whatever you want. So if you have double or different colors, then you can specify them both. I will just specify them both, but we don't have any differences in color, so it doesn't matter so much. So what I'm going to say here, data set dot data. Oh no, not dot data. This is a background color. For the fill style, focus on background color. The stroke style is the line. So basically the border. So I'm going to say here this, but then I'm going to say here border color. If I save that, refresh, let's close that. Now you can see they have both the same value. Beautiful. So now we have this, and we're almost done here. But what we want to do now is the text. So it's the rotation. I will do it within this structure here because it's part of it. So what I'm going to do here now, I'll just say // text. So you know that. And then what I'm going to do here is the following. I'm going to say here ctx dot font. And this font will be quite simple. We're going to make it bold. So we say bold or bolder. Doesn't matter. 12 pixels. And we can give the font family of sans serif, which is a default Chart.js font type. So then what we want to do here is the color of the font. In this case, because we have this nice white item, I think a white font would be very suitable or appropriate. So we're going to say ctx fill style equals hashtag triple F. So once we have this, what I want to do next is eventually we're going to say here, well, I guess we can say fill up the text. So we're going to say ctx.fill text to draw the item. So for now, I will just say here sales, just straightforward, and then later on, oh, I realized that we have this here, we have this hard coded, this needs to be still soft coded. How do we soft code this? Well, let's soft code that one. We do that from data to data sets, or as you can see here, the data sets directly to label. So I'm going to say here data set dot label should give us the right item. Alright, so we get some errors here, and the reason why we get these errors is probably because we are missing values here. Here should be a, let's put a 0, 0, this should be an X and Y. But if I just comment this out, maybe that will be better. For now, there we are. So this works, and you can see here one is smaller than the other, or larger than the other, and we can test this by just saying here super long, save, refresh. Alright, as you can see here, we might be clipping off a certain part because the text is too long here. In that case, we need to expand the padding at the bottom here. Remember the padding that we use here? We can expand this to maybe 150. If we save that, probably will be like that. Alright, of course, in this case, you should be aware of how much space you want to give it, because it might impact your chart size. So at least this is clear that this works nicely. Let's put that all back. Alright, what we're going to do now is we're going to work on the text. We're going to make sure that the text is here, and I guess since we already covered above, so I guess it should be just used. So we can just say here data label. I think we don't need to make it very fancy. So we're going to put that in there. Here we have the X and Y value. Nope, alright, sorry about that. So we have the X and Y value. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put in the text here, and let's just put in just simple 10 pixels and 10 pixels, because we're going to rotate it, and rotation creates a lot of tricky items on it. So let's save this first, refresh, there we are, and I realize because it's white, it's hard to spot, so make it black for now. There we are. So it's 0, 0, or 10 pixels and 10 pixels. So that's basically the position. So we need to go here. To do that, I need to rotate it, and this rotation is a very tricky item. So what I'm going to say here is, first of all, I want to put a well, I can do that later on. What I want to do is, first of all, I'm going to say ctx.translate. So basically what I'm going to say here, I want an item which is 0 by 0, which is basically a, you can imagine that there's like a piece of transparent paper on top of it, or a transparent layer that we are able to rotate, and it starts from this point. So if you basically like this, but if you're rotating it, we're going down like a circular motion or clockwise. So it goes down like this. So once we rotate this, we'll basically go, if we go down here, like a 90-degree angle. Well, in this case, it should not be even 90 degrees. We want to have that pointing up. So sales going up like that. So that would mean that we have to rotate it like this, almost 3/4 or 75% of the rotation. So what I'm going to do here, this translate will make sure that only the fonts or the text here will rotate, nothing else. And that's why the save here also becomes later on important, and the restore. If you don't do this, you get this very weird rotating effect that we don't want to have. So make sure you pay attention here. So we have this, and then we're going to say ctx.rotate. This rotation will be divided by an angle, and this angle I'm going to define here now. So I say ctx angle, and I'm going to say here math.pi divided by 180 degrees. So if you're wondering why, one circle, a full circle, is 2 pi. So basically what we need to do is that if 1 pi is 180, 2 is of course 360, so we need to divide this so we get a single angle or a single degree. So we can control how many degrees we want to rotate in an easy way. Or else you have to work with pi and 2 pi, and you have to probably do minus 0.5 or something like that. But it's too confusing. This is a better way. So now we have the rotation. So what I want to do is, well, let's say here I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees, so 90 times angle. Save and refresh. Alright, as you can see here, we already get this weird animation here. What I need to do is basically two things. I need to say ctx.restore. Let's save that, refresh. So as you can see here, now it starts to work, but it rotates and it creates a huge confusion. Of course, because this part loops, so it loops this first, and then it loads again here, do this one, and then it here, and then it rotates again. So this is the reason why the second item is not being shown. This one is fine, because after this item has been drawn, it will draw the rotated text. So what I need to do here, I have the restore to avoid this weird animation. Secondly, I need to undo the rotation here. So what I'm going to do here, just simply say here -90. There we are. So now you can see it's both appearing, except the text here is not yet appearing. So let's move this text accordingly in the right position. Probably here now, because it moves 90%, so it's just outside of the shape or outside of the position. So if I do -10, you might notice it appear somewhere. Alright, doesn't appear here, maybe here, -this. Save. There we are. So now it starts to show. Here's, because of the rotation here, it starts at this corner, and now it fully rotates outside of our canvas. So this is the most tricky part. Now we have to work with negatives, and not only with negatives, we also have to work with opposites. So for x and y, what we're working with is, now this was normally the x and this is the y, but now because of the rotation, we have to work exactly the opposite. This becomes the y while it's still x, but we have to work with the y coordinates. We have to work exactly the opposite and then in a negative position. However, not on this, but I need to move 270 degrees. Why? I need to have 75% rotation. So if we do this, alright, so then we get here the item. Of course, this here still says nothing, so let's do this again. Save, refresh. Alright. It's hard to see here, don't worry about that. We're going to work on this now. So the first thing what I need to do here is we just have to understand where are we going to position it. So what we want to do is we want to be at the bottom here. That's the first one. So remember, instead of x and y, this should be the y where we put in the bottom, but now it converts to this one here. So I'm going to say bottom, and it needs to be negative. So we say bottom negative. We do here. Alright, doesn't show anything yet. So let's see here, if I do it as 0, let's see here, if you get anything at all. Alright, you can see here something happening. So let's do here 100. There we are. As you can see here, now it starts to work nicely. However, we're not done yet, because I need to push it more down. So what we're going to do here is we have this, and let's get the position. So to get the exact position, we need to make sure we get the so-called x value. So we're going to say here, you can grab, I guess, this one here, get x, put that in here, and let's see if we need to do negative or not. Let's save that, refresh. Alright, so apparently we don't have to do a negative value, but you can see here, x value is supposed to be the y value. So we have our names for the tags here, basically. Now we have to just position them nicely. You can see here, they're not really centered. So what we need to do is do some final fine-tuning. Probably what we can do here, because we have to do exactly the opposite. Normally we would say here text align center, but text align center will not work here because this is basically the y positioning, which is the baseline. So we're going to say here ctx dot text baseline equals middle. Let's see if this works. Save, refresh. There we are. Alright, so the next thing what we can do here is probably, well, maybe this, if this is text align left, maybe we can do text align right or something like that. So we're going to say here ctx.text align. Let's do right side first. Save, refresh. Alright, you can see here I'm not really satisfied with this, but I guess we could fine tune it. Or maybe if we do center, what happens then? Center is absolutely not suitable as well. Well, probably for that the solution would be to calculate the width of this one divided by 2, because that's basically the difference of it. And then we can push it in, because if you do it to the right side, it will work to a certain extent. Or we can do it as well, that's a simple one, but maybe it will not be always in the center, although I think it's quite acceptable. what I will do here, just in case, let's see here, I need to push this a bit more down. So I'm going to say here, let's say plus 5. Oh, or maybe negative 5. Alright, as you can see here, I need to do a negative 5 or negative 6. There we are. And I can see here the width here. I'm not satisfied with this width. So what I want to do here, text width, let's say here plus 12. There we are. So I think this looks quite appealing and quite nice now. So we have this. Let's finalize it with triple F. Let's capitalize, save, refresh. There we are. So we have the white color here. Absolutely phenomenal. And I guess we're done here. That's basically how we can have this one. So what would happen if you would have now a new item? So let's make a new item here. Copy, paste, and let's say here new item. And this new item, we're just going to change that, and it's going to put this back to 0. And this, I'll just make this a unique color here, whatever the color is, no idea. Save, refresh. There we are, new item, and oh my goodness. All right, we can just probably extend the layout here. Let's make that 75. Save, refresh, and there we are. So this works. It will automatically understand the space, or at least it will understand the amount of space for the label tag, and it all works, and it will add automatically as well. So if you enjoyed this video and maybe you want to create, for example, a crosshair along with this, so it looks a bit more exciting and it shows a bit more additional information, in that case I'm going to recommend you this video here on how to create a horizontal and vertical crosshair line in Chart.js.